right now. So if you were to preserve their habitat, so thereby their survival will be ensured, because habitat is the basic necessity for any organism to stay alive, right now. Further, to the greatest degree, habitat degradation must be repaired to allow ecosystem recovery of the ecosystem and maintain a healthy tiger population for environmental, scientific, cultural, and aesthetic reasons as well. Like, if you were to have diversity in the wild, if you were to have diversity in the forest, so that adds beauty to the nation. Now imagine if you were to have just one kind of organism in the nature, so that will not look very beautiful. Like, imagine if you were to go to a forest and you see only one kind of plants, you see only one kind of animals. So we see that there's a beauty in diversity. So for that purpose also, furthermore, we know that carnivores like tigers, like lions, they are equally important as other animals are important in the food chain. Getting it now? Because see, if the population of the tiger were to decrease, so thereby the population of its prey would be increasing, and that might disrupt the balance in nature. Got this now, right? If you were to look at the population of the tigers in India in the year 2006, it stood at around 1411. Gradually, due to various measures taken by the government, particularly this Project Tiger, the population increased, and in the year 2022, it stood at the it stood at 3,682. Got this? Okay, now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You guys tell me, this Red Data Book is published by which organization? What is the name of that organization?
Sir, can you repeat?
What is the name of? Mhm. Let me first brief.
IUCN.
Yeah.
Project.
No. The question was, one of you have answered it correctly. By the way, let me repeat the question. Which organization publishes the Red Data Book? That's the question.
IUCN.
IUCN. Okay. Then tell me, in which year Project Tiger was launched?
1973.
1973. Good. Okay. One more important thing, guys. Here, it was actually enacted in the year 1973 on 1st April. Okay, no? On 1st of April 1973, the government of India launched the Project Tiger. Okay, few questions were left to be discussed. We didn't did these questions, right? Let us get done with these questions. Also, everyone is required to turn their cameras on in the class. In order to have a proper interactive class, you should be turning your cameras on. Okay. Question number 1. A place and environment where an organism lives is habitat. Good. Gauri, you answer the second question. Cutting of trees on large scale is called
Deforestation.
deforestation. Chakrika, deforestation takes place by
So both of these human
both of
activities and only by natural resources.
very good. Okay, who is left? Khadija, you answer question number 4.
Endangered species.
Endangered species. Very good. Okay. Can you guys give some examples of endangered species? Yes. What are some examples of endangered species?
Polar
Pandas.
bear, turtle,
One by one. One by
rhinoceros,
one.
elephants,
Rhinoceros, elephants. Okay.
So pandas.
Pandas. Yes. And
polar bear,
polar bear. Yes, they are also endangered. And certain species of turtles. Yes.
Gliders.
Repeat again, Chakrika.
So sugar gliders.
Yeah, sugar gliders. They are also. Antelopes are also. You know about antelopes, ant eaters, and antelopes. They're also
yes,
endangered, right now. Okay. Then you have certain species of shark also. Tiger itself is an endangered species, isn't it? Hmm? Then you have African wild dog. So these are some of the endangered species of animals. Okay. Alif, answer question number 5. And Chakrika,
of
answer question number
course,
6. That is afforestation. Shakrika, answer question number 6. Fauna indicates for
Sir, animals?
animals. Good.
Yes, sir.
Gauri, you answer question number 7. And Khadija, you are also left. You answer question number 8.
Sir,
Invalid
national
question.
park.
The place where animals receive protection is called as national parks. No, it's talking about animals now. Repeat. Okay, look at it again. First of all, start with eliminating the options. Like option A here. Okay, your answer is actually correct. I didn't look at the options. Yeah, that is national parks. Like, because in a zoo, basically animals are kept there for a public display, huh? Kind of public display. So the main objective is not their protection. Getting it? So that is national parks. Good. Khadija, question number 8.
1st April 1973.
Good. Miss Alif.
Sir, animals are protected.
Animals are protected. Good. Yes, Shakrika.
Uh, so biosphere.
Biosphere. Good. Okay. Now there are some questions like I'm going to assign these questions. Aleph, you will be explaining what is ecosystem. You will explain this. Chakrika, you will explain what is biodiversity. Gauri, you will be explaining what do you mean by wildlife. Okay. And who's left? Khadija is left now. So Khadija, you will be explaining what is biosphere. Quickly. Yes.
Sir, in the chat box.
No, why you would be explaining it in the chat box? In the class only. Mhm. Do not turn your cameras off in the class. How would I know if you guys are focusing in class or doing some other activities?
Sir, can I tell?
Yes, starting from you. You have to tell only the ones which you are being assigned. Yeah, start.
Uh, wait. An ecosystem is a community of living and non-living things that interact with each other in a specific environment.
Good. By the way, community is formed only by living organisms. Okay, now. So ecosystem is a area where living organisms, particularly which would be living in a community, would be interacting their physical environment, right? So living organisms are now interacting with the physical environment to make a community of life. And the ecosystem will be made up of both biotic and abiotic components, right now? And how biotic and abiotic components in our ecosystem is related? How are they interacting with each other? Yes, anyone would like to answer this? How abiotic and biotic components in an ecosystem are interacting with each other? Like, consider we humans. We humans are biotic component and we are interacting with our surrounding. Like, you are interacting with the air, but how? Plants are also interacting with the air, components of the air like oxygen and carbon dioxide. You are interacting with the soil, you're interacting with the water. So there's an interaction between the biotic and abiotic components. Like, you are taking in oxygen rich air and you are exhaling out carbon dioxide rich air. So that's the interaction. Not that kind of interaction when you go to meet your friends and your families, not like that. It's a different kind of interaction. So exchange of something is taking place here. Similarly, you are interacting with the soil also, as you're cultivating crops on the soil. Huh? So that's the kind of interaction. Furthermore, in an ecosystem, there will be flow of energy also via the food chain and food webs. The energy that the plants would be taking from the sun, plants do take this energy from the sun to make their food. Furthermore, it would be eaten up by the herbivores or the omnivores. Furthermore, the herbivores or omnivores would be eaten by carnivores. Furthermore, the carnivores might be eaten up by the decomposers like fungi and bacteria, or might be eaten by scavengers. So the energy that the plant took from the sun to prepare their food, there's a flow of this energy taking place in the food chain. Everyone getting this concept? So ecosystem is a geographical area where living organisms and the physical environments are interacting to form a community of life. And how they would be interacting? They would be interacting via food chains, where there will be a flow of energy taking place. Hope that is clear. Okay, who was assigned biodiversity?
So me.
Explain.
In biodiversity, basically all different kinds of life, we find them in one specific area. So basically, the variety of animals, plants, microorganisms, basically all of them together. And all these organisms, they work together, like in an ecosystem, so that they
Good.
maintain balance and they also support life.
Very good, Shiktika. Very well defined. Okay, next, wildlife.
So wildlife is like living things like mammals, birds, fishes, but they are like, but they are not like humans or domesticated animals.
So they are known to be found. They are found in the natural habitat, whether it be a forest or a grassland or whether it be aquatic habitat. Okay, now. Okay, now Gauri, explain about biosphere. What do you understand by biosphere?
So I explained that wildlife, no,
Okay,
Sir, I was
explain.
supposed to do.
but okay.
Who was supposed to answer this one, by the way?
Sir, me, Khadija.
Oh, sorry. Mhm.
The biosphere is the narrow zone of contact between the hydrosphere, lithosphere, and atmosphere where life exists.
Very good. Basically, it's a zone of life, right? And the three different zones like lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere would be interacting together to make life possible on Earth. Okay, so these were the simple terms. You guys, all of you have defined it well. Now, do tell me, out of a biosphere reserve, a wildlife sanctuary, and a national park, which one is biggest in size?
Biosphere reserve.
Biosphere is a
Good. Now, in which one of these three activities like killing of the animals, poaching of animals, will be strictly prohibited?
national park.
National park.
Mhm. Actually, it would be prohibited in all three of these now. That's the whole purpose of biosphere reserve or wildlife sanctuary national park. So why it would be allowed in this region right now? Okay, where which one is especially meant for human recreational activities, like for human recreation? People who can go there.
Biosphere.
And
Biosphere reserve.
listen to the question. Which one of them is particularly meant for human recreational activities, like people can go there, people can make some drawing, they can do some? That is national park, right? And they national parks, getting it, guys? Okay, which one of them are 18 in number?
So biosphere
Biosphere reserve.
reserve.
Good. Do tell me, how many wildlife sanctuaries are at present in India? How many wildlife
Sir,
sanctuaries are there? Anyone? It's between 500 and 600. To be exact, it is 573. Okay. National park is around 106. Biosphere reserves are about 18 in number. Got this? Okay. In which one of these three, tribal peoples would be allowed to live in the outermost zone?
So biosphere reserve.
Biosphere reserve.
Good. What do we call that zone as?
Transition zone.
Transition zone. Very good. Okay. Do tell me the red data book. Red data book. What does it contain?
A list of endangered animals
A list of
and plants.
endangered animals and plants. Good. Okay. In an ecosystem, what is the smallest unit? Yes. In an ecosystem, what is the smallest unit? Like, if you guys can recall this image, we know that first of all, you'd be having one individual organism like this. See, you have one individual organism. Then you have the population of this organism. Then further, you have a community of different organisms. Then our ecosystem is formed. So ecosystem will have so many different communities in it. Getting it? So the smallest unit of an ecosystem is a living organism, a species of a particular living organism. Getting it? Whether it be a species of this deer, whether it be this species of zebra, etc., or this wild goat. The smallest unit in an ecosystem is the species of a particular living organism. Got this now? Okay, so that's all in the chapter. If you guys have any doubts in the chapter, please do let me know. We would be beginning with a new chapter today, that is conservation, that is reproduction in animals. Okay. Meanwhile, do tell me which chapter was going on in your school.
So age of adolescence.
Okay, let me have a list of it.
Sir,
By the way,
crop
by
production and
okay, crop production and management. By the way, from chapter number 1 till chapter number till this chapter, conservation of plants and animals, has there been any chapter which you guys haven't studied in the batch? Is there any such a student in the batch who hasn't studied in a chapter, who have missed classes for some chapters?
So I have missed crop production, but then you explained it. So
Yeah, I think we had one extra class for that chapter, like 1 or 1.5 hours, somewhere around that.
yes, so you explained it in
So
that
that,
class.
yeah, we learned that in that class. Alif, you were also present, I believe. I think
yes,
no, you were present. No?
I was present.
Good. Okay.
I was
So, okay. So we are none of the chapters are left for any one of you, right? So far, good thing. Currently, do tell me, Chakrika, you were telling me in your school, age of adolescence is going on.
Yes,
Okay.
so reaching the age of adolescence.
Okay. Alif, in your school, crop production and management. Okay. And Gauri and Khadija?
sir, I'm actually on break right now. Summer break.
Last, before the vacation, which chapter was going on?
Crop production and management.
Okay, Khadija. Crop
Sir,
production and yes.
I have vacation now, but
Before vacation, which?
the crop production.
Okay, Gauri, what about you?
I'm like, so sir, like ma'am told us that we will start reproduction, but there was an observation in our class, so ma'am start the force and friction.
Okay, force and pressure has been started.
Yes, sir.
Sir, like in physics, in my school,
Mhm.
started friction. No, finished friction.
Uh, Repeat again.
In my school, physics
Hmm.
finished friction.
Okay, friction has been
Friction
finished.
is finished.
Good. Okay, I want you guys to do one thing. Do one thing that whenever you guys get the syllabus for your half-yearly exams, or if you guys have already got it, make sure that you send it to the counselor. Make sure that you send it to the counselor, because I have to make a PDF of the syllabuses of all the students. I have to make one single PDF of all the students of this batch, so that I have convenience in looking at the syllabus. So I can put all of them in one place. Okay. Okay, without any further ado, let us start this chapter. These are the questions you guys would be able to solve after having done this question. Okay, having done this chapter. So reproduction, right? So you see that in our body several processes are going on right now. In your body, what are the different processes that is going on? Tell me. As of
Respiration,
respiration and yes, breathing. Breathing is going on, right? Blood
Our
circulation is,
heartbeat.
yes. Heart is pumping. Hmm?
Digestion.
Okay,
Sweat,
you would have
pulse.
eaten some food, so digestion is going on. Yeah, pulse, like basically the heart is pumping the blood, so thereby all of them would be related there. Hmm? Circulation of blood is going on in your body, digestion of the food is going on, respiration is going on. These are the most common processes that is going on inside your body at any given instance, right? Whether you are sleeping, whether you are awake, etc. Apart from these, like these are the general processes that every organism, every human being, every animals would require in order to stay alive. Not just animals, even the plants, uh, even the microorganisms would be in need of these processes to stay alive, right? Like you would have studied about reproduction in plant as well. There you would have studied about different modes of reproduction in the plants. So a reproduction basically is the process which is not vital for the survival of one single living organism, but it is important for the continuation of a species of any particular living organism. Like for example, you studied about the project tiger. Hmm. So if the numbers of tigers were not to multiply, if the tigers were not to reproduce, so their number would have decreased and they would have become a extinct species here on India. Or we could see, like if we would not have taken mitigation steps, their numbers could have decreased worldwide and they might have gone extinct right now. So for continuation of any species on earth, reproduction is required, right? A organism can survive without reproduction, but for the continuity in the species, to maintain the continuity of the species of that particular organism, reproduction is required. Getting it, guys? Okay, so that is the thing. Furthermore, different organisms would be reproducing in different ways. Like animals would be doing reproduction in different ways, plants in different, and certain microbes would be reproducing in different ways. You have certain kind of microorganisms that would simply split into two halves and they would multiply. Like you have examples of certain parasitic protozoans, like you have amoeba, right? You have certain kind of other organisms like planaria. Like for example, planaria is such an organism. If any part of it is cut down, so it will grow into two new organisms. Like you have a planaria, for example, like this. So if planaria were to cut from here, it will grow into two new living organisms. Getting it? Similarly, you have different kind of organism. Like you'd be aware of yeast.
There's
What is a
spiral.
yeah,
So what is the
spirogyra is
spelling of
also there. Hmm?
planaria?
Which one?
What is the spelling of planaria?
Planaria. Okay. Planaria. Okay, that is planaria.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, by the way, planaria is an animal actually. Okay, it's a animal. It's kind of a flatworm. There are flatworms present in the human gut also now in the intestines. So it's a different kind of worm. It's a flatworm actually. Particularly, it would be found underwater, in the marine water, in the fresh water.
So,
Yes.
sir, it is microscopic, or can we see it with our naked eyes?
This one,
Yes, sir.
planaria is. I think planaria is microscopic. Planarias are microscopic.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if planarias are cut into two halves, it will grow into two new living organisms. That is one special thing about it. Getting it? So each piece can regenerate into new living organisms. Okay. Many of you would have noticed that in your homes, if you see lizards around you in your homes, it's a most common thing in every household. Also, it is important as well. See, so if the tail of the lizard were to cut, it will grow into a new tail, right now. But that's not the case with other parts of the lizard. Have you noticed, like, if the tail of the lizard were to cut, it will grow a new tail, because
Yes, sir.
regenerative cells are found in their tails, right? But in the case of planaria, regenerative cells will be found in every part of the body. So whichever part is cut down, it will grow into new living organisms. Then in the case of you have organisms like yeast, you would have studied about this in the second chapter. So yeast is a bacteria or a fungi?
Sir, but
Fungi.
Fungi, good. Right now, so if this yeast will grow by budding. It will be growing by budding. So a small bud will appear on it. It will grow in size, and later on it will detach, and you'd be having two yeast like that. Right now, similarly in the plants, you would have studied about that plants would be reproducing via their seeds. Right? We have studied about pollination. So plants are of two types: sexual flowering plants, and then you have non-flowering plants. So most of the flowering plants would be reproducing via their seeds, where pollination is going to take place. Then you have certain kind of non-flowering plants also, where they would be multiplying via vegetative propagation. Like you have tubers, you have like you have potato, you cut it into different parts. If you were to have a potato, and each part has got eye bud, you cut it into three pieces. Each piece will grow into a new potato plant. Getting it? You would have studied about grafting also in the previous class, in your previous class in seventh, I believe.
Yes, sir.
So you'd have studied about grafting, you would have studied about layering, all that.
no, sir.
So no, no worries. So you'd have seen that certain plants, if their roots from their stems, the roots will start to grow. You have certain plants from their from their stem, roots will start to grow. Right now, so what you would be doing, for example, say this is the main plant, for example, and the roots start to develop from its branches. So you can bury it with soil and you can cut it from here. Now it will grow into a new plant. So that is layering. Got this? Furthermore, you will have seen trees like banyan tree. What is one special feature of banyan tree?
The leaves are right.
Yeah, its leaves are kind of distinct in nature. The veins have got a special uh, kind of a structure, but the main thing is that there are adventitious roots growing from the banyan tree. Adventitious roots are found to be growing in banyan trees. You know what are adventitious roots? Yes, they would be growing from their branches, and as soon as they will touch the ground, the roots they will fix firmly into the ground, and they will provide extra support to the banyan tree. Where you would have seen that you would be having a plant like this. See, this is a banyan plant, and from their aerial branches, these extra roots will start to grow, and as it touches the ground, so thereby they will fix firmly into the ground, and they will provide extra support to the plant. Because you see, like, banyan tree is a very huge tree, right? And if you were to cut it from here, cut this, separate it from the main plant, it can grow into new plant. So basically, in this general discussion, what I meant to say that different organisms would be having different methods to multiply, different methods to reproduce. Our main aim would be to learn about reproduction in animals. Okay, and particularly we would be learning about animals, reproduction in animals, and reproduction in some microscopic animals as well. Okay, so let us begin the chapter. Introduction to reproduction. First of all, you would be writing down in your text copies the content of the chapter. What are the things we are going to learn about? I believe all of you have a copy in front of you. Yes, Khadija, Chakrika, Elephant Gauri.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
I have.
Also, you have good. Also, see, for the for the chapters which you have discussed so far, I would share the PPTs with you guys because I believe that you guys might not have prepared notes of all the chapters. But from this chapter, I won't be sharing the PPT. Okay. So make sure that you are making notes in the class as well. Clear? So first of all, you would be learning about introduction to the chapter. You would learn about reproduction and its necessity. Okay. Next, you'd be learning about modes of reproduction. Then you'll be learning about sexual reproduction. We'll be learning about sexual reproduction in detail. In this in the sexual reproduction, first of all,
Sir,
you'd be yes,
in first one, reproduction and its
necessity.
well, okay.
Then you'd be learning about sexual reproduction. In this sexual reproduction, you'd be learning about sexual reproduction. You'd be learning about reproductive parts of male and female. So you'd be learning about male reproductive parts. Then you would be learning about female reproductive parts. Female reproductive parts. After this, we would be learning about the uh, hormones, particularly the sex hormones. Okay, so sex hormones. In this, you'd be learning about both male and female sex hormones and what are their structures. So sex hormones and their structure. So we'd be looking at their structure as well. Then after male reproductive parts, female reproductive parts, and having learned about sex hormones and their structure, then we would be learning about um, the concepts like menstrual cycle. In this, you'd be learning about concepts like what is menarche, what is menopause, all that. Furthermore, you'd be learning about a concept called as gametogenesis. Gametogenesis. Then you'd be learning about the most important concept, that is of fertilization. What is fertilization? What are the steps of fertilization? Pre-fertilization event, what is post-fertilization event, all that you'd be studying here. Then you'd be learning about types of fertilization. Types of fertilization. Like fertilization, in the case of most of the mammals, like in human beings, in cows, in dogs, the fertilization takes place inside the body. But then you have certain organisms in which fertilization will take place outside their body. Like you have fishes or you have amphibians like frogs. So where external fertilization is observed. So we'll be learning about that. Furthermore, in this, we'd be having a brief look at internal fertilization in hens also. After having learned these concepts, then you'd be learning about some interesting concepts like what are test tube babies. Ever heard of this test tube baby?
No, sir.
No? Okay. Then you would be learning about de development of the embryo. Development of embryo, how it develops right now, how an embryo will be developing, um, how it developed to form a zygote and all that. Then you would be learning about metamorphosis, how some other organisms apart from humans like frogs would be growing, how their life, what is their life cycle, all that. Then you'd be learning about concepts like metamorphosis. All of you have noted this much?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All of you, please let me know if everyone is done. If there's anyone left, please raise your hand. Everyone done, no? Chakrika, Gauri, Khadija, and Alif.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I thought I was waiting. Actually. There are some more topics. Furthermore, you will be learning about asexual reproduction. Note down this one also. Asexual reproduction in animals. So there you would be learning about some particular organisms, like you'd be learning about amoeba, you'd be learning about some small animals like hydra. Huh? So how reproduction takes place in them. So that's what you'd be learning. So in this, you'd be learning about binary fission particularly. Okay, now. Then you would be learning about what is fragmentation or regeneration. Fragmentation and regeneration. And finally, the last topic you'd be learning about parthenogenesis. Parthenogenesis. Note down this much and then we'll be continuing further.
Done, sir.
Okay. Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So starting with the very basic concept which we were discussing in the beginning. As in the beginning, we were learning about reproduction. So we learned that just like various processes are occurring inside the body, which are making us, which supports us, which is vital for the survival. But for the continuity of the species of any particular organism on Earth, reproduction is required. Getting it now? So with the question reproduction, let us begin the class. Let me add some space over here. Yes, Khadija, why is it necessary?
So that life on Earth exists.
Life on Earth exists, or more specifically, we maintain the continuity of a particular species on Earth. Getting it now? So reproduction is essential to maintain the continuity of the species on Earth. So we know we have like several processes going on inside of the body which are essential for the survival of human beings and other animals. So you have several processes such as respiration, digestion, and blood circulation. And you have blood circulation are essential for the survival of an individual being. Of a right now. But in the similar manner, similarly, reproduction is required. You guys have to note it down. Is required to maintain the continuity of a given species on Earth. So if it were not to take place, so thereby organisms present on the Earth, it will start to go extinct right now. So if reproduction is not going to take place in the animals, so no similar kind of organism will be present on the Earth. Generation after generation, it will start to, and the population will start to decrease. Got this? Do let me know once you guys are done.
Isn't it a plus point for the environment?
Okay, if there is less reproduction in the animals, if there is less reproduction in the animals, is this a
Like,
positive thing for the
in
environment?
humans. Yes, so like if the population decreases, then we'll have more resources and more what do you say, like there'll be still more resources available for the future generation.
Mm. See, but actually the thing is now that's not a positive thing for the environment. The reason is now, see, if the members of particular species are not reproducing, then once those members would die out, the species will no longer exist. Eventually, that species is going to become extinct, right? So, particularly if you were to talk about animals, let's say, particularly if you were to talk about animals only. So, say if all the animals were to go extinct, excluding humans, hmm, so there would be abundance of vegetation on Earth. Obviously, there would be abundance of vegetation on Earth. Furthermore, if there would be abundance of vegetation, like when you are talking about animals now, in this, all the animals that fit into the animal kingdom, we are referring to that. Not just the mammals, not just the reptiles, even birds, even insects, even fishes, all of them would be counted in this. Getting it, Chakrika? Uh,
So
so let's say that in that case, you'd be having only vegetation on Earth. But vegetation alone is not sufficient. It will not vegetation like uh, plants alone is not sufficient for the survival of the human beings. Getting it? Meaning that you won't be getting all the necessary nutrient requirement from the plants. Furthermore, there are so many cycles going on in the nature. You have nitrogen cycles going on there, where you'd have studied about the in nitrogen cycle. There's a process called as ammonification takes place there. Hmm? Like where the excreta of the animal or waste material of the animal, then you have plants and animals when they die, so their body would be decomposing, and the nitrogenous compounds stored in their body goes back into the soil. So ammonification is required for the soil. So many cycles taking place in the nature that will be disrupted. Hmm.
so,
Eventually.
but-
Mhm.
so then due to the increase of population, there are many things which are decreasing, which as humans we need,
Hmm.
like water, land, and we also discussed this on like our last lessons, right? So
Yeah, that is true. But if all the animals were to go extinct, so thereby you would be having different problems. Like for example, would be a scarcity of the food as well. Like we humans not only depend upon the plant based food, but we depend upon the animal based food also right now. And it's not like the human population will be booming. The human population will too go down. It will also go down because the nutritional requirement of the humans will not be met then. Getting it? You see, a vast population of the world, they are non-vegetarians as well. You have to agree on that. Hmm? Like a vast population of people on Earth, they are non-vegetarians. Also, we get our so many nutritional requirements from milk, from egg, like that also, right? Getting it? So also like if all the people were over the world were to become strictly non-vegetarians, what would happen? Like what will happen if all the people all over the world, for instance, let's say it's a hypothetical situation, we were to think about that. So that is also not practical. If humans like, or for example, see if humans let's say that, or consider another situation where humans stop eating the non-veg, they stop consuming animal meat, they stop consuming all the animal foods, milk and egg also. So we know like the requirement and demand of animal products, it is going to go down. So thereby the killing of the animals would also be reduced. The slaughtering of the animals would also be reduced, right? Getting it? But then in that case, what would be happening? See, if we were to completely stop, if the humans were to completely go vegetarians, so thereby that will also lead to disruption in the food chain.
Yes,
Getting
sir.
it?
Yes.
So like in the food chain and ecosystem, what we have is studied that there's a flow of energy taking place from one organism to another. And if the population of one organism were to go extinct, or if the population of one organism were to boom, were to increase too much, right? Or if you were to introduce an invasive species in a food chain, or alien species in a food chain, alien here refers to a new species to that ecosystem. So that will disrupt the ecosystem. You got this now? So
Yes,
that
sir.
is the thing. So that in general is the thing. Although we can't say for sure like what would be the um, conclusion in that case, what would be the exact case, because that's a thing of research and all that. Getting it, no?
Sir,
So we
Yes.
can't. Yes,
sir, egg is vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
I am.
Sir,
I
egg.
Oh, egg, you are saying.
Yeah.
Egg, I would say egg is vegetarian or non-vegetarian. mm,
Yes.
Technically it can be considered vegetarian because it can't does not contain flesh of animal in it, no? Like vegetarianism is basically what, when we learned about vegetarianism, so vegetarianism basically refers to anything which does not contain flesh of animals like chicken or fishes or other animals. Getting it? So if you were to talk about technically, if you were to consider this, that technically it can be considered as a vegetarian food because it does not contain animal flesh in it. Got
Okay,
this
sir.
now? But some people have believed that it's a non-vegetarian food, so some people would be avoiding it too. So
So
that is
you are
the thing.
vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
Me, I mostly prefer vegetable. I'm mostly a vegetarian. Hardly I would be taking in like um, animal food right now. Okay, and so we were learning about why reproduction is necessary. So we have learned for the continuity of any particular species on Earth, it is important. Furthermore, now we are going to learn about what are the modes of reproduction. So in the human, do you have in the animals you have two modes of reproduction. One is the sexual reproduction, another one is asexual mode of reproduction. Getting it? So modes of reproduction. So there are two modes of reproduction. The first one is sexual mode of reproduction. Another one is asexual reproduction. Okay. Before we continue further and before we learn about them in detail, one must think how asexual reproduction is different from sexual reproduction. Hmm? How are they different from each other? See, the general thing is that in the case of sexual reproduction, two parents would be required, one male and one female. Two individuals of opposite genders are required. Getting it? In the case of sexual reproduction, it's a more complicated process. More complexion is involved in this. Getting it, guys? Each each parents would be producing a special sex cells, would be having separate gametes which would be fusing together. So fusion of two different gamete cells would be taking place in the case of sexual reproduction. Getting it? While in the case of asexual reproduction, rather it's a simple process. Like you'd be learning about amoeba, where you would get to see that the organism would simply split into two. In a just matter of few minutes, it will split into two halves. So it's not that much of a complicated process. Getting it? Furthermore, in the case of sexual reproduction, you guys tell me that you get to see variation in the characteristics of the of the offspring. While in the case of asexual reproduction, the organisms that would be born out of asexual reproduction, they would be identical to each other. Like just the same common example you have that of amoeba. So amoeba would be splitting into two halves. Then it will become two daughter cells, and both the daughter cells would be identical to each other in every aspect. While when you have two individuals in humans, a male and female, so the offspring born out of it will be similar to their parents, but it will be not identical to their parents. Just one of you had a question.
So is amoeba always like female? There is no male?
In which one?
Amoeba.
Amoeba. Amoeba, I think it's kind of gender-free organism.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now. Neither male, neither female, I would say.
Oh.
Furthermore, in the case of sexual reproduction, we see that it's a more complex process, my guys. So it is a complex process. How is it complex? Because here fusion of male and female sex cells are going to take place. Like fusion of sperm, that is the male sex cells, and the ovum, that is the female sex cell, is going to take place. It would be fusing together to form a zygote. Got this now? Okay, the first point we did learn here, that number of parents required here is 2. So 2 parents are required for this. Got this now? While here only single parent is required. Single parent is required. That is point number A. You guys are noting it down or not? Make sure that you are noting it down. Second point is that sexual reproduction, while it is a complex process, rather while asexual reproduction, it is rather a simpler process. Rather a simpler process. Write this much and then do let me know. Okay. Oh, okay. One more thing. The offsprings in the case of sexual reproduction, they are not similar to their parents. Genetically speaking, they are not similar to their parents. Getting it now? Like their facial structure, their bodily structure, it would be kind of different from the parents. So it is not identical, right? So offspring, you guys understand what is offspring, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Or
Sir, I don't.
offspring, basically the newborn baby is called as offspring. Okay, na? So they are
Sir,
genetically, yes.
can asexual reproduction happen in animals?
Repeat again. Can?
Asexual reproduction happen in animals?
Yeah, it does happen. It does happens in animals like hydra. It happens in planaria like that.
Okay, sir.
Not okay. Not in the cases of multicellular animals, particularly the one that you see usually. Not like in the cats or dogs or like that. Okay. No.
Okay.
So that is the thing. So genetically, offsprings are genetically different from their parents in the case of sexual reproduction, while in the case of genetically they are identical. Genetically, they are identical. Furthermore, see, the rate of reproduction in the sexual reproduction is slower, meaning that the rate at which the growth of the baby will be taking place, it is much slower. Like in the human case, in the case of the human, the gestation period is around 9 months. Or like for example, in the case of the elephants, like in elephants, gestation period will be around 9 months. uh, Getting it? So that will also be around 9 months. Getting it? So in human beings, or in we see in the case of animals like elephants as well. So the gestation period, basically the period in the whole period for the growth of the zygote, that is around 9 months. So it's a comparatively slower process or not? Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it is a slower process, while comparatively it is a faster process. These are the general differences between the two. I hope that is clear to everyone. If there's a space left somewhere, no, guys, add one more point. In the case of sexual reproduction, fertilization is taking place, while in the case of asexual reproduction, no fertilization of two sex cells are taking place here. Okay, now. So I'm writing it over here. Fertilization takes place. Here, no fertilization takes place. That's it for today. Also, after your vacations would be over, you guys would be having a test in your exams would be starting probably by October, right? For most of you.
So my vacation will start.
Okay, it hasn't started yet.
Sir, are these the only differences that we need to write down, or will you give more in the next class?
No, these are generally the differences which we have to study. Although there are some other differences, but these are the general differences that we observe. Okay, no?
So will you give more in the other class?
No, this much only.
Okay, sir. I'm done.
Okay. Because for those of you who are done, they can leave the class. We'll be continuing from the next class.
Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Bye.
bye. Yes, you're welcome. Bye.